Hello again, it's Noob, and today we get to look at something which I wanted to do a review of for a while, which is a key casting kit. And this one is the Clam, which is Wendt's key casting kit, and this is the large kit. It comes in, I think, about 3 sizes. And, well, what does it do? Well, it actually allows you to make a cast copy of a key, which I will hopefully demonstrate for you in a minute. You can see it comes with its own instruction book as well, so that's always very handy. So what do we mean by casting a key? Well, if you have limited access in terms of time with a key, or maybe you have some keys for which it's unreasonable for most people to be able to find blanks for, so what sort of these strange, skinny, abloy-esque type blanks from a Soviet-era lock and these not quite smiley keyway keys. I wouldn't be able to find a key blank for these easily, if at all, frankly. So if you wanted to make a duplicate of one of those keys, you need a way to have a go at doing that. Right, so this, therefore, is the answer. It's a key casting kit, which is, yeah, a bit of a tongue twister. What do you get? Well, you get some modelling clay, all strange stuff. If you hopefully will become clear in a minute. You get some talcum powder there, kind of stuff you put on your baby when you're changing them. We've got a little tea light, which, whilst romantic, isn't used in a romantic purpose here. We have an awesome little melting spoon with these really cool little pouring edges on there. What else do you get in here? You get some woods metal. It isn't fields metal, this is woods metal, which is a low temperature melting point metal. In fact, I believe it's 70 degrees centigrade, so this actually melts at 70 degrees, which is pretty awesome. A little spatula again, which has a use, and last but not least, the actual casting shell itself, which is here, and some stickers should you wish to label it with the mould. If you're in, say, in the field and doing a couple of things, you might want and had a couple of these clamshells and you needed to have a couple of keys, you might want to label this up so that you knew exactly which key it was that you were doing a cast of. And there you go, so it's got a little dust cover on there which you can take off, and there's the inside. You'll notice that this is some kind of, I guess, thermoplastic of some kind. And you might be thinking, molten metal, plastic. Well, actually, like I said, this melts at 70 degrees. By the time you've poured it, it'll cool down pretty rapidly. And so, you know, and of course, the clay itself will have some insulating properties. It's very unlikely to damage anything made of plastic. And a lot of the casting molds you can see out there are plastic. And also, you can even get 3D printed ones. So that just shows how the temperature actually just isn't an issue. So very, very cool. Right, I might move this kit out of the way so that we can actually have a go at demonstrating how this works. So the first things that you're going to need are a lock for which there is a key that you wish to duplicate. And I've just chosen this, well, I guess it's a Schlage style key, because, well, I'll be perfectly honest, for demonstration purposes, I reckon this will give us the best chance of getting a nice clean cast. Then we have some modelling clay. The suggestion in the guide is to use about an inch of this. So I'm just going, and by the way, this is so cheap, this stuff, and you can't reuse it. So they give you a little bit to get you started, but should you do a lot of key casting, you're probably going to want to get a bit more of this. And it really isn't special stuff, you know, it's just a kind of modelling clay that kids use. And then what you do is you massage this and stick it into the casting mould, which you'll notice has 2 separate parts to it, which I'll come on to in a second. I've now got that modelling clay in its mould in both parts. You notice that it's very lumpy, it's not level, it's not smooth, it's nowhere near where it needs to be. Now, Wendt recommend that you can use the spatula to go across and flatten this out. which you absolutely can do. I think it's also, I'm using the nice round handle here of this melting tool and using it as a rolling pin, and that will get that nice and level. If you're not getting this really level, then you probably don't have enough modelling clay in there, which is fine, because I think we'll probably have some excess in this side. So just going along, and anything that is excess on one side, you can just take off the handle and push into the other side. So now you can see that I've got this very flat. I'm not so worried about these parts for a reason I'll show you in a second, but I've got the clay in there. I've got a bit of overfill either side, and again, that actually is an advantage, so I haven't removed that. It's really nice and level, and this is where we bring in this baby powder or talcum powder, whatever you want to call it, and you just need to tap on a little bit of this. This acts as a release agent, stops the two sides from sticking together, allows you to prepare this clamshell in advance so that you can maybe prep it the morning before or the night before you need it, and this will mean that it doesn't all stick together, and then you just need to brush this on. You don't have to be just don't be too liberal with it. You don't want too much of this. You just want to make sure that the surface is nice and coated like this, so that when you push it together, it does release reasonably nicely. I think that will be enough. You don't want to saturate it with this powder, just enough so that when you close it, you can open it back up again. And I've just noticed that I might have a little bit too much down here for that purpose, so I'm just going to scrape that away. What we're going to do is we're going to pop the key on here and just tap it down a little bit to get it in place, but don't push it down because that won't help anything. Just sort of tap it to get it in place. Then what I've got here is, and I saw this as a tip on the UK Locksport forum, I don't know who posted it, but just take a bit of a paper clip and run that to the edge of the key like that, and that will act as a vent. So I'm just going to just push that down a little bit, and that will act as a vent when I close this up. So what that's going to do is it's going to stop there we go, an air bubble forming. Now this is the bit where you need to get it just right, is to push this down and close it up very firmly, and try to get very even pressure on it, because what you're trying to do is get this whole thing absolutely as close as you can on both sides, really closed up. And it does take a bit of pressure, but it's worth it, because what we're trying to do is, like I said, get a really nice even cast of that key, where the key is central to this mold. And what you want is about half the key to be on one side of the mold, half the key to be on the other side of the mold. I'm hoping that I can now pull this apart gently. There we go. And release that. And hopefully, yeah, got a really nice cast that side. A nice little air channel there. And this is what that paperclip was for. It's for an air channel, just to let some of that air that gets trapped in here come out. And then what we need to do is just gently rock that key out without disturbing, there we go, the mold too much. I'm hoping we'll see we've got a very, very nice cast there. Okay, so you'll see that we haven't sort of broken through here in terms of that little air hole. So I'm just going to gently do that there, and we've broken through. That should be enough to vent it. Anything else we need to do at this stage? Yes. So now we can close it back up, and we can make this bit of clay into a little funnel, because that's where we're going to be pouring our molten woods metal. And once it's like that, then I'm just going to apply a little clamp to it on one side, and that'll also stabilize this like that, so I can then pour stuff in. So it'll keep it closed, and it'll allow me to pour stuff into it. So let's just tweak this a little bit. I've played around with these clamps. Basically, you don't necessarily need the clamps. If you can hold it and then heat and pour, that's absolutely fine. Just having these clamps loosely, don't like squeeze it tight, you'll deform the mold. Just holding it very loosely together actually allows like a tripod effect, which will just make it a lot easier for me on camera to pour stuff in. So that's really good. So yeah, I just want to show you the ends of this woods metal to show you the crystallized structure. And what I've done is I've broken a lump off, and I will hope that will be enough to cast. I had a bit of a dry run with some to melt. I'm going to melt that in as well, so it'll be a bit more. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. So woods metal has a melting point of about 70 degrees centigrade. It does contain a bit of cadmium and lead, so you want to be careful not to heat this up too much. You just want to melt it, get it nice and warm, should I say, without it kind of producing lots of vapors. You can buy this in a lot of places. Fields metal is another alternative, albeit a lot more expensive. I believe it doesn't contain cadmium, so you might want to choose that if you're doing replacements. I guess it's all up to you. I don't know what you think, but I really like sort of metallurgy, and the crystal structure of this. Just look at the underside, is just beautiful. So hopefully you can see, I'm just keeping this over the flame, this metal just melting away. And I want to get this good and hot, because if you don't get it hot, then what will happen, of course, is you pour it into the mold and it'll set as soon as it hits that modelling clay. Naturally, you don't want to get it scorching hot for, and smoking and producing loads of vapour for the safety reasons that I talked about earlier. But you do want to spend some time getting this nice and warm. If you're using a jet flame, then of course that would probably be quicker. But I wanted to use what was in the kit already, and we're using this tea light, which, albeit not quite as fast, not quite as hot, it should get us to where we need to be. So I'm going to say we're good and hot, and we're ready to pour. So in we go. And I hope that that is enough. So what we need to do now is wait for this to completely cool down, and then we'll be able to release the mold. So again, just have to be patient, give it a couple of minutes and come back. So let's have a look. Let's hope. Now, there isn't always a 100% chance of this working out correctly. We can only hope for the best. Just move that aside, gently tease that apart. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, well, looking not too bad there. Look at that, see? And can you see where that vent here has worked to allow the metal to allow all that metal to get to the bottom with no air bubbles at all? And yes, you will have to sort of snip that off with a pair of pliers or just a nick with a penknife. We'll have a look at that. The other thing is to note that you might get some flashing here. Oh, just nudging the camera. Some flashing like that, which you'll just have to clean off with a small blade, and you can see some here as well. That is 100% to be expected nearly every time you do one of these in any mold. Now, what I didn't cover, and it's worth covering now, is if you're in the field, you can capture obviously the mold there, but you might not have the profile. So if you did have a key blank that you wanted to cut from this, of course, all you need to do is just insert the key like that. That will give you a negative of the profile and the warding on the key like that. Then you can look that up in a key blank catalogue. Again, that can close up, it can open up. It's not going to lose that impression. and that's what that's for. It's not necessarily for casting. I'm sure you could pour some in if you wanted, but it will give you a negative of the actual blank itself, so you get the profile and choose the the key itself, so you can choose the right blank from it. Very cool. Right, let's see if I can just remove this. There we go, nice. And we should be able to just snap this bit off like that, and then I'll clean up the edges with a pocket knife, which I did have lying around, but typically now I need it, it has disappeared. Oh no, here it is. And then you can just clean this up. So I'm just going to clean up some of the flashing on the underside like this to make sure that it goes in nicely. There we go. And this stuff should be so sort of thin and brittle, it should just chip off for the most part. There we go. A bit of flashing on here like that. That's looking very, very clean though, very clean. So I've cleaned up all the flashing. There was a nice little ridge just along the back here in particular, which I've just removed. It's actually really, really easy to do. Just like I said, just run. This isn't hard metal, so you just run a firm knife blade across the back like that. You want to get it nice and smooth. Just check there isn't anything in between all of these cuts, and well, let's compare it to the key. So I mean, you can't add anything to this, right? So if you haven't cast it properly, then you have to start again, and that includes you probably can't use this clay if it's got any cracks in. You might be able to get another cast out of it if you're lucky, but yeah, you end up with a key which looks like this, hopefully. Like I said, you can't add anything to it, and even if you over clean it, actually you might change some of the bitting depths. And let's have a look. Let's align it to the key. I mean, that's pretty nice, isn't it? Like I said, if any of these are too short, you'll have to start again. You can't add material to it. Really get one chance. You can't correct it once you've done it. It's not a big deal. You just have to take care when you do your cast that you get it right. Now, the proof, of course, is in it working. So let's have a go. Ah, look at that, nice. And just to show you that we have captured the bitting correctly, I should be able to show you all the pins on the inside, at least the key pins, because that's the most important thing. They'd have to be at the right height. Oh no, I've lost a I've lost a driver pin. Doesn't matter. We don't worry about those for the purposes of this. We just want to check that all those key pins are at shear, and they are. So I think that is a very, very successful cast. So what do I think of the Clam? Well, I mean, just look at the quality of the casting you can get from this kit. I mean, it's clearly very, very capable. It's good that it comes in different sizes. You get a small, this is a large, I think there's an even bigger one. And this Clam kit comes in at, again, the prices will change over time, no doubt, but 133 euros 46 cents, which is around 121 pounds or 152 US dollars. Like I said, you've got to check the prices and the exchange rates on a daily basis to see what those prices will actually be. But I've had an awful lot of fun with this. Now, clearly this will appeal to locksmiths, physical pen testers, but I know that loads and loads and loads of locksporters love casting keys, and I can tell you what, I can absolutely see why. Why? Because it's really, really awesome fun. It just is. I'm actually going to try to use the same kit to do some coin casting with my eldest son, and and I can even teach him about low melting point metals like gallium, which I think has it's 25 degrees melting point, and that's so cool. Obviously, you can't cast with this. Actually, no, it's a lie. You could cast with this, but it's be so soft. I don't think you'd actually be able to use it in a practical setting, but it's so cool, isn't it? So yeah, just as somebody who's interested in science and metallurgy, as well as locksport, keys and casting in general, I absolutely have had the most fun messing around with this kit. I genuinely have. Anyway, so if you're interested in the Clam, do go check out the links below in the description. See which of those kits might appeal to you the most. Like I said, I've had a great time playing with it. I'm really happy with the casts that I managed to get out of it, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all next time.